This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. I forgot how to do it. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Good to have you back.
Oh, it's lovely.
That sounded slick then, that second part.
Oh, yeah, I think I got into it now. I just needed a ram, pal. That was all.
We're getting a lot of lovely gifts being sent to us. Things like cheering babies, excited Hollywood women saying, lovely. Yes, he's back.
Yes, I've been off for 2 weeks because they wouldn't let me show the picture of the Tipped and Slashers monkey.
Yeah.
I chained myself to the railings.
It to be something else, but it was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that. I chained myself to the railings outside Absolute.
Can I just say, I've heard little else but show me
Do you know
monkey.
Little Else used to be one of our Nora's mates when she was in hairdressing. Little
All
Else.
I've heard, show me the monkey. Never mind that, where's the monkey?
Yeah, well, it's quite. I agree.
I've been tempted to directly send it to a few people that have asked me because you made the mistake of sending it to me.
Well, that's because I trusted you, Al. I trusted you.
I haven't. I've been tempted. I'm just telling you.
I went home and that day, we discussed the monkey through, but this is the thing, I saw a stuffed monkey at the Black Country Living Museum, which belonged to the famous Black Country boxer, the Tipped and Slasher. Anyway, that's the story in brief. And when I got home, Kat said, I thought that was really frustrating, not putting the monkey on social media. I thought that was really unfair. People would just, be annoyed by that. She said, well, let's have a look at it. And I showed. She said, oh, God, you can't put that on social media.
Right.
So, it's
people.
It's split opinions, certainly.
Well, I didn't split my opinion. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, my goodness. Surely not.
Okay.
I knew Al would like you. It's a man's image.
Controversial.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, anyway, look, so much has happened.
Yeah.
I tell you what I did. I met. I actually had the COVIDs. I mean, I'm happy to be upfront about that. I had the COVIDs, and it was. I tell you what was annoying about it is it didn't affect my appetite.
Oh, really?
I find as I get older, what gets me through illness is knowing that I'm not eating. And thinking, I'm losing a bit of belly on this at least. Yeah. I always think they should make up a sick bed, which is an enormous scales where you sleep in the bowl of it. And as you lie there, you watch the dial steadily go down and think, well, I feel terrible, but hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I come out of this, it's going to be like I've been preparing for a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
So, there was that. One other thing as well, which I'd like to... I don't want to go on about, because I know there's a lot of it about. But when I drank tea, it tasted like... Now, this is something... It reminded me of something I hadn't even thought about for 30 years.
Oh, here we go.
When we was kids, there was a thing where you used to put your tongue on a battery. You used to put your tongue on the end of a battery and you'd get a sort of an acidic little electric shock. Do you remember this, Al?
Oh, yeah.
We made our own entertainment in
I like the fact that you knew to go to Al rather
I thought
than
I'd
me.
go northern. I couldn't. I think you'd have had a Van de Graaff generator for Christmas to do it with.
Yes, the metallics. That's very much a part of this, apparently.
But there's something about the tongue on the battery. I'm not saying if you've got battery. I don't think it works with your standard. I don't quite remember the details of it. It was quite an exciting thing that I'm advising people not to do.
Please don't do that.
No, I mean, then it's not the sort of thing they would have done on Blue Peter. Do you know what I mean? Right, let's lick the battery, lads. Whee! All the pets, giving them a bit of space. Pets can smell the acid in the air. You know what they're like, pets. Oh, I tell you what. Did you see the John Lewis news?
Oh yes,
John
thought
Lewis.
of you. I saw this and thought of you.
Yeah, it's dropped. They've dropped Never Knowingly Undersold. I was astonished.
Well, can I just say we've had a missive about this? May I share that?
Okay.
This is, while you were away, Joe McLaren got in touch. Hello, Frank, Emily and Alan. I believe the team were recently pondering the meaning and relevance of John Lewis's Never Knowingly Undersold promise, especially in the age of internet shopping. Once again, Frank's criticism has been heeded, and like Andrew Lloyd Webber before them, John Lewis have taken the hint. They've just emailed me to say that the promise is being retired. They didn't mention Frank et al. In the missive, but I don't think it can be a coincidence.
No, I agree with that. I don't really.
Yeah.
But I never really.
He does, really.
I don't think we ever got to the bottom of what it really meant, did we? And I think that's very good. If you have an offer where people can come to you and say, I saw this cheaper, give me a refund, I think it's good to have a slogan that's incomprehensible. Because you can always claim you had the offer, but no one knew what it meant. It should be oversold, shouldn't it?
Also, undersold, as you say, it's not a phrase that's used.
No,
it's not common.
It's a bit undersold. I suppose I can imagine it being a stand-up comedy term, could you, Al? If someone wasn't giving it enough on stage.
Yeah.
It was a bit...
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't...
Alan Cochrane never knowingly overpowered. That's my stand-up comedy motto.
I would say Alan Cochrane, I haven't seen you for a while, but I would say you could be a man who may be undersold a bit, because it's a lot of it you sort of throw away a bit, do you know what I mean?
Right,
whereas there are people who really give it you in 20-foot letters that they're performing.
And I think you'll find, what do? They upsell. I learnt that from George Lamb. Thank you. I was in a restaurant with him and he said to the waiter, you're upselling this quite a lot. I want to know what. And I thought, do you know what? I thought that's so sophisticated and chic. He understands the restaurant trade.
I went out with a Swiss-German woman and she used to come home from Switzerland with a thing called Uppensala, which was the smelliest cheese I've ever smelt in my life.
Oh,
and the fridge, it would go in the fridge. And then when she ate it with balsamic vinegar just because it wasn't quite terrified enough. And I wonder if that was Swiss-German for upsale.
Oh, maybe.
Seems unlikely. So anyway, whenever John Lewis is mentioned, I always think of a mate saying to me that I was a very lucky bloke. This was back before I had my major strokes of career luck. And he always used to say, if you dropped off John Lewis's roof, you'd land in a new suit. That was the thing. Oh. And I thought of that the other day when I met my new neighbour, because I think my lot might have changed.
Oh. Oh.
Well, I met my new neighbour and she seemed very nice and I said hello and I'm very keen to be a good neighbour. We live in a good neighbour kind of a street.
Yeah.
And I introduced myself and all that. And she said, great. She said, well, at some point we're going to have to talk about your bins. And
dear.
she didn't mean...
I feel absolutely ill.
And I said, then she said, but, let's not talk about that now, blah, blah. And I said, hold on. What, I don't get it. What about the bins? And she said, well, that you've got too many bins. She said, and I think, the way a house looks, the exterior of a house looks is really important.
Has she seen inside?
Which I think, well, no, if she saw inside, I think she'd move back out again. David Baddiel came round the other day and said to me, as he always says, Frank, why do you live like this?
What he also said once, which I like, was, is it always going to be like this?
This is it. He said... He even looked at my garden and said, is that the garden of a millionaire comedian? It was very... Anyway, so that was the first meeting. And I said, well, this is the worst possible beginning.
Did you actually say that to her?
Well, it was the worst possible beginning.
I know, but you don't say.
I don't even know what it meant. It was sort of avant-garde complaining. What do you mean I've got too many... What does it even mean? It was like that bit in Amadeus when the prince says, "There are too many notes." I believe, Master Salieri, I'm right that the human ear can only experience so many. Yes, Your Majesty. Too many bins, Mozart. I believe the human eye can only experience so many bins. It was all a bit like, it was the strangest, most, probably one of the most upsetting things that's happened to me in 2022.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Yeah, we were talking about my dirty old house during the music. I said to David Baddiel, I said, I do realise that I shut a couple of doors when you come round, that I don't want you to. So I have some shame about it, about the house being such a mess.
I don't think you should feel shame.
Is that what we're referring to?
Yeah, it's...
I think we're a little bit too obsessed with this idea of the pristine house.
I think one of the reasons we got a dog is some sort of justification for having a house that's higgledy-piggledy, as Marky Smith would say.
Simon from Sudbury has texted,
yeah.
Hi Frank, how many bins have you got? Is it some weird fetish? That is a good question.
I haven't. They've been left by the council. I didn't phone up for them. I've got 1 general waste, 2 garden waste, 3 recycling.
That is quite a lot.
Is it? Don't you start.
Well, how many is
I'll
that?
be honest.
6?
I thought you were going to refuse to answer.
That wheelie is good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Very
I
good.
thought it was a bit rubbish, actually.
Very good. We'll do this all day now, yeah?
We can all relax now. We've all contributed. We've all got a marshmallow on the fire.
Can I ask you something? I will.
Go on, do it.
What on earth is going to happen with this neighbour now? I want to know what happened, because
well, she hasn't moved in yet. She only came over, I think, to complain about the bins.
Well, she hasn't moved in yet.
No.
I think we know she's not going to now.
Well, I'm still keeping an open mind. I really like the idea of us drinking Coca-Cola,
bin juice,
in the garden, and saying, "God, do you remember that time when you made that complaint about the bins?" And she said, "Yeah, well, I'd been working in the theatre of the absurd a lot." And the idea is that you put the audience on the back foot so they don't know quite what's happening. And I thought I'd begin my reign here like that, but I realised now I know what a great guy you are. There was no need for those tactics. More Coke? Mm-hmm. No, I'm fine. I find it makes me a bit zingy. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it going.
What was the atmosphere?
Consequently, it could also be no communication whatsoever, ever.
I've had that with a neighbour.
Yeah,
and you know what? I was good with it.
Yeah, I can live with it, but I wouldn't mind a bit of friendliness. It's quite a low wall between us.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like an encampment wall. It's one that you could lean on and talk across.
When you said this, did you say something like, "Can you remind us again? This is the worst."
Like I said, this is the worst possible beginning. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What was the response to that?
I think it was some nod of agreement. I think we both knew it was, that we'd gone dark early on. You know, as lots of theatre directors say, leave yourself somewhere to go. Don't come on. So,
You've gone the full Brian Blessed.
Yeah, it was. You know, Al, when you go on stage and the first line's an absolute killer, and then you can't back it up. It's a bit like that. There was no ramp at all this time. We'll see. I'll keep you posted anyway.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Hopkins has been in touch. Hopkins. This is monkey related, just a heads up here.
Uh-oh.
As is most of our correspondence until the end of time. Lovely to have Frank back on the show. However, I've been obsessed about this monkey photo for the last 2 weeks, and I think Frank should consider some sort of paywall for interested parties. Maybe he could meet readers round the back of the studio for a glimpse.
There could be some sort of... there's probably a simian charity, isn't there, for misused apes and things that we could give the money to.
Well, there might be. I suspect it's not called that. The charity for misused apes.
Yeah, the MA. What's the word of the MA? Oh, man.
That's in my will. That's what I'm going to leave my money to.
To the misused.
The charity for misused apes. And everyone will be saying, what's this?
Oh, dear. They do get misused. There's no question about that.
That's true.
At Monkey World in Wall in Dorset, they have misused apes there. Have been.
Stop saying.
Yes, it's lovely to see them coming out of themselves, but yeah, God bless them for saving them.
618 has a suggestion for you, Frank. Morning, Frank. Get more bins before she moves in. Or even better, steal her bins. I think that's escalating the situation that's already quite tense.
I think you're right.
I think diplomacy may be the strategy that you both need to adopt now.
Because I told another neighbour about what had happened.
Who are you, Hilda Ogden?
And
gossiping about the neighbours.
She sent me an email of bins that had been dressed up as Daleks. And someone had done. I said, why don't you do this? So, yeah, I think people are putting fuel on the fire locally.
Yeah. You don't want to move into a new street and already be a laughing stock.
No. I want to be a good neighbour. I like being a good neighbour.
I think it can be resolved. I think
course.
It was absolute. In fairness, I think it was okay for her to raise it. You're a straight shooter, come on. But I think timing is everything, as you boys will know. She was a little premature. Wait till you've moved in.
I agree that if it's on her mind, but I would say if you'd given me 1,000 guesses of what the complaint was going to be, I wouldn't have got that. And it was left field. But, people are... I just think that's my house that the bins are next to.
Gosh.
So that's all. But, I'm hoping it can be... I'm hoping it's not the end.
Well, I don't blame the lady. I think it's a general low tolerance for...
I also think when you arrive somewhere, you want to start with a bit of a, to show you're not going to be pushed around, unlike the bins. Well, sometimes I push them, sometimes I pull them. I can never make my mind up.
I like the idea of the doll. That's a good idea. What about, a nice, we could go Davros.
Yeah, that would be...
just dress half the bin.
Yeah, that's... yeah, but if someone looks out the window and says Davros, I mean, that's going to terrify someone if they're not familiar with the oeuvre. That would... I do use an oeuvre out there because it gets quite messy.
Nice.
Oh, God.
I mean...
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We've had a somewhat snarky suggestion for you from Ian Angle, who has said, Angel actually, Frank, when you have your Coca-Cola binges, this is with your neighbour who complained about your bins, you'll have to ask her if you can put the empty cans in her recycling, as you seem to have got rid of all your bins. I think that is snarky again. It's more escalation.
What that is doing, that's digging up the body and beating it up and putting it back in the ground again. I mean, you can't. It's not unjustified.
078 is getting involved as well. My wife wonders why you have 2 garden bins, as you apparently never do any gardening. How do they?
No, but
that's from David Baddiel.
The gardener comes twice. We got a gardener that comes twice a year, so that's his autumn bin and his spring bin.
Twice a year,
obviously. Look, I didn't ask. The council just gave me these. They obviously look. They do a summary. They look at the house and think, God, they must have plenty of rubbish.
Yeah, but I mean, if the council dumped a load of manure outside your house, surely you'd question it and say, excuse me, I didn't ask for this.
Well,
I don't know if you would, actually.
I think me and Kath would talk about phoning up. I could get my PA to ask them about it.
Well, Debbie Harrison says, on the day I moved into my new house, the neighbour came around and asked me to move my bins from my drive to the back of my house as he didn't like seeing them from the window. I'd been in the house less than 10 minutes.
See, I mean, live and let live, surely.
All right, Wings.
Who cares? What's it? Can I just mention, by the way, because I know that the Winter Olympics, the Winter Paralympics are just starting, but I watched the Winter Olympics when I had the COVID. It was my constant companion. And to me, the most entertaining thing, I don't watch Dancing on Ice. I've never seen that.
Oh.
But I know Torvill and Dean are on it. And Torvill and Dean were interviewed, obviously, during the ice dancing thing. And this is kind of how it went. So Claire Baldwin would say, so Jane, what did you think about that? Well, I thought the music... Yes, you see, the thing is, the problem with this competition, it's become just a jumping competition. And that happened like 10 times in every interview. I don't think he's ever forgiven her for the billing.
Oh, right.
And she had this, he would do it, he'd jump in on her, and Jane had this sort of serene, looking into the mid-distance expression of someone who's been interrupted since the 1970s. Every time she tried to say something about ice skating or whatever, ice dancing. Oh, man. It was excruciating, but absolutely gripping at the same time. I couldn't leave it alone.
Oh, fine.
Did you enjoy it, Jane? I said, no, but the idea.
What is it with these deans and their constant interrupting?
It's a good question. You see, I interrupt more than I used to, but that's because you get to an age where the brain ceases to become a house and becomes a tunnel. So the thoughts are just passing through. If you don't stop them, they've gone.
Right.
So maybe Dino is, maybe that's where he is at the moment. But all he ever says is that it's become a jumping competition, so he's not going to forget it. He could have that written down on a notepad on the desk. JC, exclamation mark. Oh man, I enjoyed it. Anyway, it was tremendous stuff.
Oh dear. But you see, the thing is, I don't mind an interruption. I think it's a conversation. I don't know. Otherwise, what you're doing, sitting at a train station going, morning.
No,
Morning.
but you could see the interviewer would say, so Jane, because thinking, in their ear, someone saying, get Jane to say something. This just looks embarrassing. So Jane, what do you think? And you could see he was ready. He was like a dog. You know, when they hear the meat come out the fridge, the dog's ready. It's just ready. Like, just break the shoulders are going. It's all ready for it. That's what Dino was like. Yes, you start it with Jane, but it ends with me. Oh man, it was. I'd like to watch a sort of a montage of it over Ravel's Malera with his interruptions, and at the end, it's just Jane lying on the floor instead of the pair of them, and him triumphant. Wow, man. Poor Jane. I'd like at the end of the interview, she just takes cotton wool out of her ears.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. 2 2s are 4, 3 2s are 6.
You've got a bit of laughter in your voice. I like that.
You know why? I'm just happy to be back.
Oh, I'm happy too.
There you go.
That's nice.
We missed you, you old devil. Martin Sullivan. Morning all. Regarding bins. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. I have one general rubbish.
Right.
I'll add in. Are you making a note of this? One general rubbish.
Yeah.
One garden. One normal size. Sorry, I'll say that again. One normal size recycling.
Right.
Plus 3 slim, close quotes, recycling. I'm assuming this would induce apoplexy in said neighbour.
Slim recycling. Is that for non-plastic spaghetti wrappers?
Well, I think three slim recycling is a lovely follow-up for you and David Baddiel.
Yeah, exactly. 3 slim recycling. Sorry if that's annoying. Yes. With you I was toying. Still work in progress.
I'm not going to tell you what the producer's face looked like then. She scrunched up her eyebrows, but it's nice to know.
She probably hasn't heard the original. That's why she doesn't know what's going on.
What was the second one you did? There was another one, wasn't there?
We did.
Why'd you say, oh God?
Well, I wish we'd just done the first one. But, it went to number 1, the second one. And then we did an orchestral version with Trevor Horn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ian Wood.
So you're now rewriting your rewriting on the show now?
No. Ian Wood. Do you know Ian Wood?
No, but...
Thanks for the tip.
Ian Wood, you need to speak to Dave Berry about your bin situation and get...
Well, he knows all there is to know about the Crying Game. Oh, that's the wrong Dave Berry.
And get one of the breakfast show bin wraps.
What is that?
Oh, do they have bin wraps for the breakfast show? Yeah, but that's a bit boastful, Frank.
What is it? Oh, it actually goes on the bin.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I walked in today, and I didn't walk in, that's a lie. I walked to the car and then from it. But I realised that my tote bag is an Absolute Radio tote bag, and I felt a little bit like I was wearing my own merch.
Right. I think that's a good thing, though. That shows you're a company man. That's a positive.
It's like, just in case you didn't recognise me, here's a hint. Oh, and I'm wearing an England shirt as well.
Have you got, when you're doing
with
that...
Skinner on the back.
Exactly. Skinner number 9.
And when he was during I call it the loaded years, when you did the raised fist.
Oh, yeah.
You had to then on these lad mags. They had no choice. Louise Grant... loving the bin chat, a subject with such mileage for comedy and gittishness.
Oh, well,
yes.
But I don't think I was the one who was, anyway.
No, gits never do.
No. Well, I'm hoping to, no one's ever mentioned it in the 10 years we've lived there, or whatever it is. It's not 10 years, it's 8. I didn't even know there was a bin count thing. That's a new one on me. That the bins are the bins.
Well, as I say, I think people are increasingly less tolerant for signs of life, essentially.
Yeah.
Not living in antiseptic chambers. Come on. Can I just say, John Hopkins sent us he's done a mock-up, and as he says, half the work's done for you already. It's a photograph. It's saying the charity for misused apes, endorsed by the Frank Skinner Show.
Okay.
Which he's even given it a charity number.
What if
Please
we start...
don't donate money.
Yeah, don't start sending us... I mean, who do we give it to? We could buy some perfume for the zoo. Do you remember I went to the zoo and we had to put perfume on things for the... what was it? Stoats or something. Stoats, is that right? Is there such a thing as a stoat?
Yes, there's a stoat.
I thought I'd make... sometimes you say something and think, have I just coined that?
Is a stoat in the ferret family? I think of it as very Victorian. The stoat.
That's a hospital pass, isn't it? I can't believe you've asked me that live on air just to show up my ignorance. Where does the weasel fit into this? Oh, I can see them all writhing in and out of each other like the head of a gorgon. Oh. But I don't know.
The weasel went pop, didn't he?
Yeah, that went. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that was the microwave incident.
Too much Coca-Cola. All right.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I mean, I've heard some suggestions, but
right.
Ruth Jordan, who, can I say, is fast becoming one of my favourites. She's certainly features on the podium somewhere currently. Just because she's managed to combine a number of current themes.
Right.
Re-bins. Maybe Frank could offer to get rid of all of his bins and put all his rubbish in the neighbour's bin. Then he should go to the museum and borrow the Tipton Slasher's monkey and leave it in her bin with just an arm hanging out.
It's good thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I think seeing the photograph would be enough.
I don't think the Black Country Living Museum would loan out the Tipton Slasher's monkey.
Not for a prank.
No, not for a prank.
It'd have to be for something special, like
It has to be an exhibition.
Yeah.
Well, what else would you want it for?
I'm
a wedding?
thinking we've teased it so much, I might get a live show out of it. If I could borrow it for the grand on. It's just a very Victorian thing, isn't it? The unveiling of a stuffed ape. Yeah.
I'd like to sashay us onto something that happened previously. Usually when we do previously on this show, it's something that, we've talked about 3 weeks or 3 months ago. But Ben Harrington has messaged on the show Instagram, and it's actually about a project that you did previously. He says, "Loved your documentary on Ali, very interesting. I noticed when you drive you have extremely straight arms, ! And then it says, discuss. I'd like to discuss this a lot.
I think it's to
Are you
do.
a straight-armed driver, Frank?
Someone said to me once, I hadn't been driving that long, but they said, I saw you go past in your car, you were very upright indeed. I don't know if it's maybe I'm bracing myself. This was, I don't totally trust the old airbag revolution. Maybe I'm just braced. I've got the brace, the locked shoulders,
You might be one of those people that still drives exactly as you were instructed, rather than
drive like
slouchy approach.
Is he like Frankenstein's monster?
There are some. I think there are some things that I absolutely remember. I hear his voice in my ear, saying things like, "And remember, when you're not on the motorway, you're not on the motorway."
Oh,
Stuff like that. So, but some people, when they come off the motorway, they still drive quite fast for a while, and then they get used to the A road thing.
That's good. I like it because it's got a sort of a twinge of existentialness to it.
Yeah.
Like if you're not on the motorway, you're not on the motorway.
Yeah, it's good repetition.
Sensei.
Yeah, I do like that. But yeah, a friend, an old school friend, teased me about my driving and said I drove like an old age pensioner. And I said to him, I thought if he's teasing me, that gives me license. So I said, remember, I've got a lot more to lose than you have. And he took it.
That's really bad.
He took it really. He didn't take it well, and I thought that's give and take, isn't it? Bants.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you say give and take, that's quite a punch.
No, but he did bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically criticised your driving and you criticised his life. That's
the whole nature of banter for
Very
me
well put,
is
Al.
the whole nature is escalation.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Well, you really ramped that up, didn't you?
Yeah, you don't want to go down one, do you, if they've gone up to. I mean, saying some men, I think... in my experience, some men are I think it's particularly men, very touchy about criticism of their driving. So, you could say he was on an equal plateau with mine in some context. For me, obviously, I'm very open about the fact that, as you know, I've spoken about the difficulty of parking.
Yeah, you're not very good at that.
No, I think, driving is great. I mean, I don't know, being brilliant at driving, what does that even mean?
It's a bit cigar smoker of the year.
It is a bit,
isn't it?
yeah.
What are you good at? Driving?
Yeah, I mean, no. I can get around without hitting anything most of the time, and that's good enough for me. But some men in particular, very touchy about it. When you say, suggest someone that, learn to drive, mate, through your, open window. See, they really
You're not
bridle.
a backseat driver, though. Can I tell you who is?
Who?
I don't know if I should.
Okay, well, we'll give you time to think it over.
We'll discuss it off air.
Who is a backseat driver?
It's someone we both know. We'll discuss it off air.
Sounds like David Baddiel.
You're right.
I'm guessing.
No, but David Baddiel, to be fair, is very good on direction, so that is...
No, I had a massive... When we drove to Robbie Williams, we had one of the worst fights we've ever had.
Okay. I think we can't top that sentence.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So yes, we were talking about things that have previously been on the show that people have had lots of thoughts about. I like that because some people listen to it on podcasts, for example, and then they can't put in their 2 penneth, or is it a penneth? However much they've got, and whatever they can spare.
Well, 376 says we're talking about parking and driving in general. Hi, Frank. My husband always gets out of the car with his arms outstretched in exasperation by my parking.
Well, no.
Oh.
Man. So male.
We now know what Pop Goes the Weasel refers to as well.
Okay.
692 has enlightened us. You're looking worried. Don't worry. I've checked it. It's fine.
I've always assumed it's just about the cost of living.
Well, you're not incorrect. However, it's slightly more specific. The nursery rhyme Pop Goes the Weasel refers to Cockney rhyming slang, weasel and stoat, which stood for coat.
There goes the Pop Goes the coat.
The pop element of a nursery rhyme refers to selling your best coat at a pawnbroker's. Pop goes your weasel. In selling your coat.
So it's about the cost of living.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Anthony Newley version? Anthony Newley, the popular singer of the early 60s.
Was he married to Joan Collins?
He was, and had quite a big influence on early David Bowie. David Bowie's first albums were basically Anthony Newley tribute album. Anyway, he sang in a very sort of English fashion, and he did a version of Pop Goes the Weasel, which began with a sort of a £0.5 of tuppenny rice, £0.5 of treacle. But by they got to the middle bit, it was why did the weasel go pop goes the weasel? Why did the weasel go pop? Because they changed the price of tuppenny rice to 4p, and it was very 60s. Interesting bloke, though. Anthony Newley there. Showcased on Absolute Radio.
Did he do a musical called Stop the World I Want to Get Off?
I believe he did, yeah. Oh. But he always sang in that sort of distinctive English voice, which is still very unusual.
Yes, the 80s music voice. Sorry, Al.
526 has given us a different differentiation between a weasel and a stoat, which is what you asked originally. What's the difference between a weasel and a stoat? A weasel is weaselly recognised, while a stoat is totally different.
I have to say, I haven't heard that since I was 7.
That's Matt in Elsenham. I've not heard it ever.
Yes, it used to be
broadcast.
It used to be like seen as the very height of wordplay in the 1960s. That did.
I liked it.
But what was the other creature?
Another reason I'm glad I wasn't around in the 1960s. I mean, really? That was the bar?
Yeah, it would be like, I wish I'd said that. You will, Oscar. You will. It was honestly, it was like a fabulous bon mot.
We've also had a top tip, a recommendation. 245 has said, Frank, you should visit the British Wildlife Centre at Lingfield, Surrey. It has examples of stoats, weasels, ferrets, polecats, pine martins, probably a mink, all your familial skinny little rodent needs covered, plus loads more, wildcats, badgers, etc. Really nice day out.
What about misused apes?
Let me guess where this person works.
They don't add that, but I think we can infer.
I'm guessing.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Jane has messaged us to say, Frank, I think your new neighbours might be the same people who moved next door to me. We're getting that. This seems to be quite a common thing, Frank.
I didn't realise bins were so controversial.
I think people worry about, the
exterior appearance of the house.
I think these things matter to people. As similar strange discussion was had and a suggestion of a bin store was given, they cost £300.
A bin store? What does that mean?
I've got what it's sort of covered.
Bins.
Yeah, but a store. Well, I'm going to open some sort of cubicle, on-road cubicle.
Not some sort of two Ronnies.
Do you mean
shop.
a little house for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, bin store. As Al says, pretty much as it sounds.
Well, a store. It sounded to me like there's somebody selling them.
It's sort of a covered area.
Okay.
I have a bin store.
I think there's too much of that in life. Things being the dirty side of life being hidden away.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it all. Let's just be open about who we are.
I love what you've done with that. Lovely little spin.
Listen, speaking of little spins, Al was enjoying the idea that I drive straight armed.
That does make me laugh.
It is funny.
Well,
I should say that I don't think you're tall enough to to create my loathing. I hate people that drive with the seat so far back that they're practically sat in the back of the car.
Yes.
it makes
I
me
don't
ill.
like those people.
No,
It's almost louche.
Ow, it's so louche. I cannot bear. You know what? There's people
Yeah.
who drive like that are the same people that, you know what I'm going to say, the arm around the passenger seat when they're reversing.
Oh, yeah. Now, I need to be able to reach the Doctor Who CDs in my glove compartment. So I can't
Stop,
go.
this is too arousing.
I can't go. Anyway, look, I went to the O2 Centre, and they very kindly gave me VIP parking.
Nice.
So I should have had, it was a mix-up, it should have been valet. I got valet on the way out. But anyway, on the way in, this woman in a high-vis coat said, right, can you drive into the space? Well, so I said, OK. So I thought I'll reverse in, because
Uh-oh.
when I reverse into a parking space, I feel, as I walk away from it, I think, all the hard work is done now. When I get in, I've just got to go forward, and I love that. I've done all the hard yakka, as they say in Australia. So I reversed in, and then all of a sudden I was on the back of the car, and she was right standing behind where I was reversing in. So I put the brakes on. I said, sorry about that. And she said, that is exactly why I said, that's why we say driving rather than reversing. And I thought, I've never heard that distinction before, that reversing isn't driving. It's all driving's a general catch-all. Anyway, she was too ashen-faced for me to argue.
Did you hit any other vehicle?
I didn't hit anything. I just nearly hit the lady. That's all. That's all that happened.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
So I parked at the O2, and it was all right. I didn't.
Congratulations.
Didn't hit
You
anyone.
reversed in.
I reversed in.
Driving.
Yeah.
You
Now,
were going
have you
to-
ever heard that distinction, Al, between?
I hate to play devil's advocate, which I think we all know. Whenever someone says I'm playing devil's advocate here, they mean I'm being a bit of a git. I think I make that distinction in my head between driving and reversing.
So when I start reversing in my car, I am no longer driving.
No, but if you're still driving, obviously. But if you're
well,
parking
come on.
and someone says, "Oh, can you reverse into that?" they mean as opposed to driving forwards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they didn't.
No,
They
she
said
said,
driving.
can you drive in?
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway, so
Mark Nixon,
Oh, yeah.
I used to work for a company that insisted that all cars were reversed parked into the car park. So I would drive in to be a rebel.
So he makes the distinction, though, drive and
Yeah.
reverse.
Yep.
I've been living a lie. I had no idea.
Also, I didn't realise that, in the petrol station, you're not allowed, because I've done that, I've sometimes done a little cheeky 3-point turn if my car's facing the wrong way,
Oh,
so
my
that I'm
goodness.
pump side.
Oh, yeah.
I had a man tell me off once.
Why is you can only go forward, you know?
Yeah, you're not allowed. I didn't know that, Frank.
I mean, every day is a school day.
Isn't
I've
it?
told you before of the time I was on the phone on the forecourt and a man
Oh, they get mad
ran
about
out.
that.
in case I blew the place up with my phone.
Yeah, they get mad about that.
You know, they hate it when your phone really sparks, your spark phone. My spark phone, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen it.
So you were going to the O2. Were you seeing my lovely Rhys Stevenson?
Well, I was going to see Strictly Live, is what I was going to see, which me and my family, we watched the last series of Strictly.
All right, the Queen. Me and my family.
And so it was nice for Buzz to see all the guys in the flesh. Not all of them, but there was a thing. It was great. And the thing, you know, obviously the dancers are all amazing, and Buzz does love Rhys.
How was my boy Rhys? Did he perform? Did he deliver?
Yeah, he was. You got to vote. The audience actually got to vote with their phones to see if we could change the original result. Yeah.
Wow.
But we didn't. We did vote, but nothing could
Is
stop.
it Rose still?
Yeah, nothing could stop Rose. She's unstoppable. But there was something that happened, which I think I'll tell you about after this. It was an interesting, I would call it a physical revelation.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Yes, I was talking about my trip to the O2 to see Strictly Live. Now, the most of the main dancers were there who you'd want to see. No Oti Mabuse, but I think she's already departed. Anyway, the judges were Shirley Ballas, Craig Revel Horwood, and Bruno Tonioli.
Return of the Mac.
Yeah, so Bruno Tonioli hasn't been on it for how long? 2, 3 seasons maybe. And I don't know if you ever watched Strictly, but they've got more technical. There used to be a lot of nonsense talked on it, a lot of embarrassing VTs, which was just squirm making. Below mediocre comedy, and now
Late review.
Yeah, but now they've moved on, and now they talk about dancing in quite they're unashamed about their knowledge and love of dance. It's much better.
Yes, I know what Frank means. If there was they'd go to a sort of Spanish bar to sample the cuisine or cook in the kitchen. It was very silly.
And Bruno was of that period of the show, and. It was so Craig Revel, so when I didn't think there was the shoulder movement was and all that kind of stuff. And Shirley said, well, no, I don't agree with you, Craig, because I think you move beautifully, you use the whole floor. And then Bruno would stand up and say, you are so hot and so sensual, you're like an animal. And I can't remember the last time
anyone said that to you?
No, that I was so profoundly embarrassed.
Oh, wow.
It was a level of embarrassment. It was a physical experience. It was like getting a sort of shoulder massage, but from the inside. And I got to the point where when they went to the judges, I could feel the anticipation of it in my inner being. And he would get up again, so you move, you're like a tiger. And I would feel it again, this awful but strangely addictive feeling of acute embarrassment, on his behalf. And I think it's probably the best cardiovascular I've had for probably 18 months.
How do you feel?
Even talking about it, I can feel it. It's come back to me. It's an emotional memory.
Is it quite triggering?
Oh, man. You are so hot. Can't breathe. I'm so embarrassed for you. It wasn't even for me. I suppose I was pleased at my own selflessness that I felt it for a fellow human being.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you feel it was going down in the room, as it were, in the arena?
I doubt if anyone was as self-analytical as myself. But I think some people probably thought this is a lovely walk down embarrassment memory lane. But no, someone should have said, we don't do that anymore. But the other two judges were probably thinking, let Bruno carry on with his 2020 stuff. and then we'll do the technical and look like really clever.
It's 2020.
He's
Most damning thing I've ever.
he's gone
It wasn't a
totally.
great year on lots of criteria.
Exactly.
He's done the Tom Jones as well. You know, occasionally Paul McCartney did this as well. They suddenly stopped dyeing their hair.
Oh my God.
He's done that, which
Oh,
I
has
think
he?
that's a good move.
Yes.
But he shouldn't have.
So is it white, the hair?
It is white, yeah.
Is
But
it?
if I was him, I would have kept the hair dye and got rid of the embarrassment. If I had to choose, but he must have been a point where shall I stay embarrassing or shall I stay brunette? And he's thought, I'll stay embarrassing and just let myself go. And I think that was the wrong decision, looking back.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
465. I think Frank is right.
That'll do. Next. That's the trailer sorted for this week's show.
That's the next autobiography sorted. She should have said drive in forward or drive straight in. The responsibility for communication lies with the communicator, as Frank well knows. The parking attendant may have been subjected to the creeping influence of US culture at drive-in movie theatres, no doubt. An American?
Yes, but for me, drive, I'm going to say it one more time, it is the overall thing of controlling a moving car. That, to me, is driving. So reversing, you are still controlling a moving car, so you are still driving. And so driving is a catch-all. Reversing, if she just said drive forward, I would have driven forward, no problem. Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you set her straight by driving straight into her.
Well, who stands behind a reversing car as well?
Parking attendant?
That's a good text in. Who stands behind a reversing car?
You do get, I notice when I'm reversing, you do see people just stroll across the road with boggies and all sorts behind you.
I always feel that they've overestimated people's general ability with keeping the biting point, you know.
Oh, yeah?
When
I
some
love
people
that.
roll back when they're setting off, don't they?
And some people can't be bothered to even look in the rearview mirror.
You see, can I just say that's another Americanism? Valet.
What's that? Is it?
Valet. I believe the original is valet.
Is it?
I think so.
Valet
I think
parking.
Jeeves and Worcester, he would have been a valet, but I think that's... I don't know, but I say valet as well, Frank.
It meant, when I got the valet park, it meant I walked out of the O2 and my car was right by the door. I mean, there was people all around my car. It's like being the Beatles.
Right.
Yeah, it was just, they just left it there for me.
Like George Harrison parking outside the Apple in Get Back.
That's it. It was, yeah, exactly. It was like the 60s where you parked outside the place you wanted to go. Those far off days.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a bit of my life.
We've had someone else saying you're living rent-free. You are living rent-free in their head, haven't we, Al?
It's actually 005, which makes them sound quite sort of
A colleague.
License to kill.
spying.
Yeah.
Morning, friends. Have you heard of the saying lives rent-free in your head? It's when a memory /story /song, etc. is just stored in your head and pops up every so often, making you laugh /shudder /cry.
I haven't heard that.
I think it's actually a Donald Trumpism, because he used to live rent-free in his opponents' heads, people said online. I still
Well,
miss
it's
him.
also something,
Anyway.
may I say...
I still miss him. Not something you often hear on commercial radio.
Voice of
think we all
controversy
miss him.
there on Absolute Radio.
It's a good
all
saying,
missing.
though. I like the saying.
Well, they use it, I'll be honest, therapists use it a lot. They say,
Oh.
don't
Oh,
allow
do
that
they?
person. Yeah, they'll say, Emily, don't let them live rent-free in your head. Oversharing here this morning.
Well, they have a rent-free in the head story of Frank misunderstanding the family changing room at the swimming baths.
Oh, yes.
And going in uninvited with shocked other man and child. It pops up at least once a month and still makes me laugh. Even typing it now is making me giggle. Have a fabulous Saturday. That's a nice message, isn't it?
That's when the man said to me, they're very cramped, these, aren't they? That was his way of... Instead of just telling me, hey, do you know it's supposed to be one family per thing? He just said it's very cramped. I said, they are. It's ridiculous. And then I said, that's mine, actually. Yeah, it was... That was. The thing is, if you remember, when I told the story on the radio, it was, this bloke, it was really like, strange mood. And then we had like about 80 texts saying, you're not supposed to go in him. More than one family. It was a great revelation
What
for
Frank
me.
Skinner story lives rent-free in your head? I've got one.
Have you?
Hey, 12:15.
Okay.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Can I just say, we've been absolutely inundated. We don't have time to read them all out, but thank you so much for all your contributions to the text in When Did Frank Skinner Live Rent-Free in Your Head?
What was that a texting? I didn't even...
Turns out it is.
It's the people have spoken texting.
People have spoken. Drunk Basil Brush is coming on. This Is Your Life is coming up a lot. And your note on Omo Sharif.
Yeah, well, drunk Basil Brush went like this. Oh, Mr. Frank, I wonder what... Like, it was like drowning Basil Brush sound. Anyway.
Also, there's various. We won't read them out because it feels a bit like reading praise if we read out like when Frank has been funny and they've remembered it.
It's very nice that people remember it, though.
It is very nice.
Unless, of course, I'm rehashing it at a charity gig.
Well, it turns out you're I've always thought of you as something of a Nicholas van Hoogstraten of the landlord community. Al, you know who he
yes,
was.
he is. He's
not the bloke that put dead bodies on show.
He was a notorious landlord.
Oh, okay. I thought...
not for good reasons, not like a benevolent one. More.
Who was the guy who had the dead bodies exhibition? Wasn't he called something like that?
Doctor something.
I got my picture taken with my arm around him. And him in his,
it's almost like there's a theme here, Frank.
He always wore that hat. Self-styled, colourful mortician.
Yes.
I'd like to discuss a news story that I don't understand this week. Robert Pattinson, I think it's quite difficult to say his name. You know, the TV and film star. I think everyone wants to say Patterson, don't they?
I think people call him R-Pats, don't they?
He doesn't like that. He told me when I met him. It didn't take me long, did it?
What did he say?
To say he just said, I find it a bit... I said, well, how do you feel about being called that? He said, I find it a bit random. He said, it's hardly a term of endearment. I just think I don't like it.
It would be a term of endearment if it was a Scouse guy talking about his sister Patsy.
Yeah.
Pats.
But also, it's not random in that it's his first initial and the first syllable of his surname.
Yeah.
If people called him JPEG... that would be
Persian rug, like just anything.
Yeah,
like JPEG.
I think he's got random mixed up with abbreviation.
Yeah. Anyway, he's been in the news this week because
is he nice?
He's
do you know?
Sorry.
Is he?
Just want to establish.
He's charming.
Is he really?
He's someone, I described him, he's not, you know when you meet a movie idol or a sort of big screen idol like that?
Well,
oh, come on.
I've met a few, but...
You have, I haven't.
You sort of expect them to have that confidence and entitlement, but he seemed... I described him as uncomfortable with his aesthetic lottery win.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Charming, though.
Good, that's good. Bobby DeP. That's what he was known as. Bobby DeP. He used to be in a band when he was a kid. And that was his stage name. I'm not joking. Anyway... Sorry, carry on, Al.
When you say you're not joking, are you joking?
No, he was as a child. He was a front man in a band. I can't remember what they were called. Something like Bad Girls, and his stage name was Bobby DeP.
Oh, right.
Bit random.
Yeah.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
So we're talking about R-Pats.
Oh, he's not going to like it.
Bobby DeP.
He's made the news as old Bobby DeP, and I don't understand why, to be honest.
You see, you are the one person on the team who I thought I could rely on to understand and explain this story to me.
Well, let's explain.
He's apparently been training to get fit to play Batman, and one of the things that he's used was counting sips of water. And I don't get it. I don't understand why that would have any contribution. I mean, I could do that now because I barely drink water. It's boring, isn't it? Like, I have tea, coffee. Sometimes
You sound like my actress mother who used to say, I loathe water.
I mean, very occasionally I'll have a bottle of water at the side of the mats or something. I mean, not very occasionally. I take water with me to grappling lessons, but I wouldn't take water with me anywhere other than that, really.
Well, here's what I think it is about, as far as I can understand.
Okay, tell me. I'm
basing this partly on my own naked modelling career.
Oh, yeah.
Which was one shoot I did with David Baddiel for PETA, you know that organisation?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think they're a sister association to the Misuse Ape charity.
Right.
And anyway, someone said to me, what you should take is, I'm not going to use the F word. I don't mean the bad F word. There's one that's less bad, but I just don't like it. There are pills you can make that make you release wind.
Oh, yes.
And you take them before a shoot is the idea, so that your stomach, you completely, when your stomach flattens.
You've got to
as much
time
as
it
can.
well.
Yeah, you got to time it well.
Mm-hmm.
And
you don't want that moment caught on film, do you?
No, and I think with the bodybuilders, just before a show, you've got to have exactly the right amount of water for intracellular expansion, but no extracellular. So your muscles look defined, but you don't start to look sort of a bit squidgy. So what he's talking about is really studying and he's talking about just before you go on to do the no shirt thing, you have it to get it look as good as possible.
You'll know this from your Venga Boys work, obviously.
Yes, but
did you plan for that? Did you?
I did some gymnasium work. But when I work out, I move. I don't do much. I haven't done much working out in my life, apart from dart scores. And I don't look good. I look like the Mahatma. I just get very thin. Is what happens.
Gandhi's not a bad person to look like. Oh, the other one.
No, that one, Gandhi. Yeah.
Okay.
So I look like that on stage. But I remember someone asked me if I worked out during my when I did some nudity in the West End. What a night that was.
Can I just clarify that Frank was in the play called Art, because that you weren't
No, I was in a play called Cooking with Elvis, which involved a lot of bear bombery.
And a tortoise.
So I think it's about that. Really, what's disappointing for me about this, and I had a feeling I'd spoke to you on the show about this before, is when he got the role of Batman, he said, I'm not going to be one of these guys who's sort of, in the gym every day. I don't believe in any of that. I remember he said James Dean, he didn't look ripped, but people still thought he looked great.
Yeah.
And he said, if you work out all the time, you're part of the problem. And now it turns out he's crumbled.
He did 3 months worth and he counted his sips.
You know what the secret was, Al?
No.
The Bosu ball. Do you know the Bosu? Do you know the Bosu? Is that a thing you might
I know about the Bosu ball.
Apparently that was the secret.
I don't know what it is, and I don't like it.
I don't know what it is, but apparently he was given a Bosu by the trainer and said this will turn it around.
I really don't like the sound of this. Go to the music.
No.
Okay, I will.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Look, here's my question about the whole Robert Pattinson, the whole thing now, as I've said before, about people get their Oscars in the gym, not in the rehearsal room. And this is my question. I think that I could play Superman next week. And I'm telling you why. Because in the Captain America movie... Have you seen the first Captain America movie?
Of course I haven't.
Chris Evans plays part of the film as a little scrawny little bloke with a build like me, which they do with CGI and a body double to make him look scrawny, so that when he gets the injection, he becomes this great, like the real Chris Evans, the muscular thing.
Because he's quite shredded, Evans.
Yeah, so why can't they just reverse that and do all this stuff CGI? On body double?
You make a good point.
Well, it's what it's like. It's like these people that go and spend 2 years learning the knowledge, driving around London on a little moped with a map on the front.
Frank,
Yeah.
And then when they can just get a sat nav.
as someone who loves you dearly,
Yes.
I have to tell you as a friend, dropping hints on the radio
No.
that you'd like a part in Doctor Who is one thing. I know that worked. But campaigning for the role of Superman...
I'm saying, why put yourself through all the Bosu work when you can just do his CGI? That's what
I
I'm saying.
realise now about 10 years ago when you were talking about how much you liked capes that it was the beginning of this campaign.
Look, I don't think I'm right for Superman. I'll be straight with you. I can't get that curl to hold
so
at the front.
modest. I don't think I'm right for Superman. Of all the
It's
things
the Brill
you've
cream
said.
issue.
But I'd say you pick the best actor and then you alter the body CGI-wise, not that. Not you pick an actor and then make them suffer and suffer for months. Okay, that's my
They
plan.
call it the Batman, which worries me a bit.
No, because the Batman was in the original comic, he was called the Batman, so they've reverted to the
Yeah,
original.
but doesn't it sound a bit like a middle-aged person, or like us, essentially, saying, "Is this the Stormzy?"
I think in the Dark Knight movies, I think towards the end they started calling him the Batman in those. They never say the Superman.
You're such a phone a
seem more
friend when it
important.
comes to superheroes.
He said a great quote. He said, normally, Pats, he said, if I'm offered anything with a physical edge, I run a mile. And I thought it's good to know. Got your exercises. But, look, I've got to say today before I go, I know it's a light-hearted show, but I was astounded at how upset I was yesterday by the death of a man who's caused me so much misery and frustration over the years, and that's Shane Warne. Because he has obviously destroyed England on several occasions. Because if you don't know anything about cricket, just trust me on this. He was, without doubt, the best cricketer I ever saw. His complete presence at the ground, everything, his actions, everything about him was about winning and being a brilliant cricketer. And he will be... I'm really glad he's having the state funeral. That is the best news of the day. Anyway... thanks for listening to us this morning. Thanks for the rent-free in your head memories. I had no idea people remembered all this rubbish that comes out, but thank you for that. Maybe we'll put them into a chat book. So I have to find out what it is first. Okay, so look, thank you for listening. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. I'm going to see Revelation of the Daleks now. And
I'm not.
no, you're not. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.